And good morning. Welcome to Brittney on the Bluff, brought to you each weekday by Today's Computers, Whitworth, Gift Chest Jewelers, Key Drugs, and First Community Bank in Poplar Bluff. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We're going to be talking about Three Rivers College today. Joining us in the studio, Jonathan Atwood from Three Rivers College. How are you doing, sir?
Pretty good. How are you, Brittney?
He sounds pretty good right now, but he's actually got kind of some congestion, the head cold thing. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm mostly on the upswing, so.
You feel a lot better, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it is the season, unfortunately.
Is it not? I was telling him before we started the show, I had the flu last week. No head cold, no congestion, nothing like that. It was just straight up flu. Yeah. Nasty, awful stuff. But apparently there's some stuff going around. So, poor thing. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No.
He has to turn away from the mic to cough. I'm so sorry, man.
It's just the last drag.
I do appreciate you coming in, though.
Oh, yeah, no.
Being with us this morning. And I thought we'd kind of take a little approach of talking about what's so great about community colleges? Because, we've been hearing community colleges in the news these days, and, of course, the president's talking about them, and there are some really important advantages to choosing a community college over, say, a 4-year university.
Yeah, and, it rightfully was a very big thing in the news when the president proposed the program that he's going to talk more about in his State of the Union that would make it so that 2 years of community college would be free, essentially, for anyone who can keep a 2.5 GPA. Anywhere across the nation. Mm-hmm. I think the idea is that the federal government would pay for like 75% of it, and then the participating states would kick in 25.
Now, to be perfectly honest, because I had the flu last week, I didn't hear a lot of news last week at all. So I've been trying to pick up kind of here and there what's going on. Is he referring to any community college in the nation?
Any community,
And is this something that would be just for those coming out of high school, or
we're not sure.
Not sure yet.
And he's been pretty stingy on the details again, because we're pretty sure he wants to make it a section of the State of the Union and that sort of thing, and flesh it out, and it will require legislative support and all that. So there's a lot of work to be done, but I'm thinking it's going to be, and this is speculation, because again, from what we know, from what we've dealt with, it would either probably be just coming out of high school, or if it was really fleshed out, then it would be anybody who hasn't gone to college yet. That would be great too. We're not going to look askance at either of those. But one of the questions we've been fielding a little bit in the wake of this announcement is, well, okay, why community college? Shouldn't we just be sending people to college? Well, first off, as far as bang for your buck, you don't get better than community colleges. Mm-hmm. Because, you can get an associate degree with 2 years of
a lot of people still don't know that.
Yeah.
I find that interesting when I start talking about 2-year degrees, and people look at you kind of funny. What are you talking about, a 2-year degree?
Yeah,
It's called an associate's degree.
Yeah, and it's actually the true entry-level degree needed for quite a few jobs.
Sure, yeah, lots of different positions.
It's also that there is, how should I put it? It's a lot more community focused, community college. It's a lot more career focused. Mm-hmm. Not to say that you're not going to get a job with a 4-year degree. I did, you did, a whole bunch of people have.
Sure.
Otherwise, why do we keep them around?
Right. It doesn't exclude you from the job market.
No,
but
certainly
still.
not. But there are just so many more entry level, especially get your career started. Get a good career started, jobs with an associate degree, especially in the fields where, call them what you will, everybody saw on the Discovery Channel called them, to some degree, the dirty jobs, the job, the hands-on jobs, where they are increasingly technical. They are increasingly require mechanical knowledge, computer knowledge, technical training. But they're still the jobs that make the world go round.
Absolutely.
You know,
Where would we be without those folks?
everything
We'd be in trouble.
from agriculture, which is becoming increasingly mechanized. I mean, it's one of the reasons why, you can have 2% of your workforce be farmers, but still feed the entire nation and have stuff left over to export.
That's pretty amazing,
I
isn't
know.
it?
I know.
It really is.
I heard that the other day, and I was like, really? 2%? No, that's
Wow.
just about right. So, I mean, you've got how welding and manufacturing is becoming increasingly robotic or increasingly automated. Well, somebody's still got to make them work. Somebody's still got to fix them when they break.
Yeah, keep the robots functioning.
No, absolutely. They don't, you can't just set them to running and leave them alone. You got to keep an eye on them. The medical field, especially with all the new technologies coming out. And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
You've got computer systems. You've got business, which is becoming increasingly online. You can get so many different starts with that associate's degree. Or it's a great way to start to transfer to a 4-year degree.
Right.
And it's just so much more affordable. Because for the price, the best equivalent I've got is that when I was at SEMO, and I'm a SEMO grad, and it's a great school, but it was basically a 2-for-1. I could get 2 semesters at Three Rivers for the price of 1 semester at SEMO. And SEMO's not the most expensive college in the state.
No, not even close.
Absolutely not.
Not even close.
You've got to imagine that when the president and his advisors were looking at this idea of trying to make higher education more accessible, because it's important. Higher education, to me, and I'm always surprised at how passionate I have become about higher education since I started working at this job. Before it was, hey, I went to college. Everybody should probably go to college, right? To being, no, this is the deal. This is the investment we make in our future, especially, and in our economy, and in our careers, and in that base, so to speak. They're looking at it, and they're going, okay, how do we make this higher education, which is so necessary, accessible to everyone, and yet not break the bank? And the answer is, I'd some degree like to know how long it took him to think about it. It's like, no, community colleges.
Yeah.
Community colleges.
Yeah, you kind of said that lightly, and I giggled, but at the same time, I mean, doesn't everybody already know about community colleges? Doesn't everybody know about what a great economic value they are?
Well, I mean, you'd be surprised. We fight the stigma every day that, and I'll put it bluntly, that community colleges are where the stupid people go. I mean, we wrestle with that in our marketing, in talking to people, in our recruiting every day. No. Let me tell you, there are some of the folks, for instance, in our Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society, that make me look like a very dumb, very small child. Well, you've got Dr. Mairead Ryan Anderson over there, who leads that group, and she's got some of these folks doing the math stuff, doing the science classes, etc. And I'm sitting there going, oh. They just let me write things, and talk on the radio. They don't let me near math, that's not what anybody wants me to do. And so even across our career, technical programs, these folks diving into these fields, and you'll ask the ag students, oh, what did you learn about today? And they're reeling off about all this stuff with animal genetics and animal husbandry, and these are the various chemicals and proportions and how you tell whether soil is good or bad. And I'm going, okay, well, forgive, I've gotten an education today. So it is not ever necessarily going to be where everyone stops. But I really think...
Well, that's not the purpose of it, though.
It should be where I think everyone starts.
Yeah, it's a starting point,
Yeah.
or it's a place where if you want to better your life and you don't necessarily feel like you can do a 4-year program, you can do it now. You
Well,
can better your life now.
and I will say that even if you are aiming at, the highest levels of four-year education, even if you were aiming at Harvard or Yale or Stanford or name one of these high-level schools,
Hmm.
public or private, there is absolutely no good reason not to start here. Those first 2 years, they're the same everywhere. You are going to get the same math, the same college algebra at Three Rivers as you would at Harvard. That doesn't change. Why would it? It's been the same math for 100 years. That doesn't change. Um, and you're going to probably get more personal attention. They're not going to stick you we've talked about before. They're not going to stick you in
That's
the
one of the things
150.
I like about it is the smaller classrooms and the more personal attention that you
Yeah.
get from your
I
professors
mean,
and that sort of thing.
it's a community college. We're not a big clearinghouse, and we're local. We are. Everybody here is from around here, lives here, works here. You're not going to get anybody looking down their nose at you for being from Donovan or having a Donovan accent. You know, eh, Anything like that. It's just going to be, okay, you're here to learn? Good, great, sit down. But I also think that one of the things that people miss is that this program that is being presented would be such an economic investment. And it doesn't sound like that on the front. Because if you look at it just as far as bare numbers, okay, how many millions of dollars are we going to be spending on sending kids to college? Well, here's the thing. A, we've seen the statistics that show that one of the best indicators of economic growth or the potential for economic growth in the area is the presence of a strong community college. Because you provide that educated, trained workforce right there in the backyard. You know,
Hmm.
Places, some of the big employers in the region, be it Poplar Bluff Regional Medical Center, be it the various manufacturers, would have a whole lot harder time, keeping their workforce, keeping the people they need to keep the doors open and the lights on, if it wasn't for Three Rivers right in their backyard, providing technical training, providing job retention training, providing the steady flow of LPNs and RNs that, for instance, the medical
Hmm.
center needs. And you're talking about fueling that across the country. you know, and, you know, our economic impact just from the college alone is not tiny. We are one of the bigger, for instance, employers in the region. And you can imagine that if we suddenly were getting an influx of new students who now have the ability to, pay for 2 years of college, that's going to go up. We're going to have to expand to accommodate that demand. We bring in, millions of dollars in the federal financial aid and in tuition, etc., every year, and
Well,
that spreads across the entire region.
that kind of raises the question. Um, his plan is to
Mm.
give everyone 2 years. Well, how realistically,
Mm.
what percentage of people couldn't get that already?
Well, and that's really interesting because one of the things that we've been telling people is there are versions of this kind of a little more piecemeal scattered already across the states. We've got something that's almost identical to what he's proposing right now in Missouri, and it's called the A+ program,
Right.
where coming out of high school, if you do the right things in high school, which is you keep the right GPA, you do the tutoring, you have your attendance up, they're going to give you um, uh, a certain amount of at least of hours of credit hours worth for 2 years of just free college scholarship. And so I think um, that people don't realize how accessible it already is. Even if you're not, for instance, coming right out of high school, and not an A+ student, you can't be an A+ student. You've been out of high school for 5 or 10 years, or were in high school before the A+
Sure.
program started. Um, you know, there is so much available.
Yeah,
Student
a lot of people still qualify for Pell Grants,
and a Pell
and that
Grant will
sort of.
take care of you.
Yeah. So again,
Hmm?
what is the big benefit to what the president is proposing if the majority of people can already get that anyway?
I mean, to some degree, it centralizes it.
Is that what it is? More of a
Well, and not every state has an A-plus program.
true.
Not
This is
every
true.
state
You're
has
right.
something like that. Missouri has been very good about taking care of its community colleges, taking care of its higher education to
Hmm.
some degree. We're not by any means the worst state as far as dealing with that, even though we've struggled with the funding for higher education in the legislature. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's the way it is everywhere. Um, but I think it also brings a visibility to it. Is again, we field these questions all the time, and I've been fielding the question to some degree for a year and a half in our monthly visits to this show, of, well, community college, really? Why? And it's going because it is the most accessible, it is the most affordable, it is the most benefit as far as the ability to start with start a career, support your family, support yourself, high earning, high potential, careers. That's just the way of it, and I think it is actually smart, because I think the program would fill in the gaps where it doesn't already exist. There is a mid-range, for instance, and A plus exists in that mid-range where you're making a little too much money for Pell,
Hmm.
but you're not necessarily making enough money to make it easy to just pay for it.
Right.
And it would mean for those people especially, which is, I mean, it's a fair chunk of the middle class who live in that gray area
Right.
where
Right.
where you're not that rich, but you're not that poor.
Right. Right.
um,
The-
and take it so that those kids don't have to, for instance, take the loans, because that's your next recourse if you're in that gray area, is you take the student loans. Well, student loans suck.
Yeah.
And there's no way around that.
Well,
So
we've got a crisis because of them
Oh,
right
yeah.
now.
And I think one of the things that the president's program is saying is, okay, let's see if we can't find a way to get that middle zone some support.
Hmm.
The people who really would, I mean, benefit a lot from that accessible, affordable higher education, where maybe they have the access to the education as it is, but it's a lot harder on them than maybe it could be. And I'm sure we'll hear more coming out of the White House in the next few months. But if nothing else, it has been so valuable to open up the discussion that people are saying, hey, look, okay, so, well, what about this community college thing on a large scale, on a national scale? And for that, if nothing else, I'm grateful, because it allows me to come here and sit down and have a conversation with you, or to have a conversation with other people about here's why. Here's why they looked at it and said, hey, there's not much better option than this. There's not much better choice than this. And so why don't we see if we can make it available to everyone? It's
It'll be interesting to see how it all
Yeah.
pans out.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, one of the things that we'd always like to say is that you don't have to wait. The good news is you don't have to wait on the president trying to get this through the legislature, because goodness knows that's always a
Yeah, I wouldn't wait on that.
Yeah,
For
well.
anything.
yeah.
You could be waiting a long time.
What's the joke? One useless man is called a disgrace. 2 useless men become a law firm, and 3 or more become a Congress. I stole that. I didn't make that up. Don't blame me for that one.
That's funny.
But that one goes back all the way to the founding of the nation. So that's an old joke. But you do have the Pell Grant accessibility, and thankfully, with Three Rivers, tuition, you have a Pell Grant, you're pretty much set. You might have to pay
Yeah.
a little extra out of pocket around the edges, books, that sort of thing. but that will get you your associate degree. There is the A+ program. Maybe, I doubt there's probably very many high schoolers listening right now, but I bet
Right,
there's some
right.
parents of high schoolers listening right now. And you know, push your kids at that, I would say, because it overlaps with the Pell Grant. If you don't qualify for full Pell, for instance, that fills in the gap. If you don't qualify for Pell at all, that kicks in full. They did,
Yeah, it's
unfortunately.
a fantastic
Yeah.
program. If you've got a student that's even remotely interested in pursuing a college career, it's a huge thing for a
And
family.
most high schools now in the region. I know Poplar Bluff does. I know Sykeston does. I'm pretty sure most of the other smaller high schools do participate in A+.
Uh-huh.
And that's the other thing. That's the other thing that a program like this one being proposed would be good, is because not all schools are A+ schools.
Right.
That sort of thing. It doesn't cover everyone. We also have so many scholarships. You'd be surprised. I've seen a lot of people who come through and say, "Well, scholarships, isn't that just like for the big universities?" And like, no, we've got over 200 scholarships. Most of them are dedicated specifically for local students, to help students from local towns, local regions, get that leg up. At least, maybe not necessarily pay for the whole thing, but
Right.
take some of the edge off. And it's so much easier than you think it is. And we have so many programs. We have everything from, we're launching the advanced welding, the precision agriculture, the advanced manufacturing on top of the stuff we already do in agriculture and in the various technical skills, drafting, construction. You've got all of the medical options, physical therapy assistant program, LPN program, RN, LPN to RN bridge. You can get started in those careers in as little as a year.
Wow. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
A career in a medical field
Mhm.
in a year.
Yeah, with the
That's
LPN program, if
amazing.
you qualify,
That really
and
is.
now the competition for
'Cause,
those is
I
fierce.
remember a day where if you wanted to be a nurse, you had to go do
Mm.
you had to do a 4-year program,
Yeah.
and then do additional training on top of that. You're talking years down the road before you would ever even be in a medical setting somewhere.
Yeah, and we have every year we graduate 30 or more students out of our RN classes, and so many of them. It's like with our green diesel program out in Dexter. So many of them, they're tapped by the various medical providers around here before they even
Yeah.
graduate. I mean, I would have given my left arm
I've thought
to.
about that before. If I had just had the I'm just not a math and science kind of gal. I get through them, but it wasn't like I sat in science going, "Oh my gosh, I love this. This is my passion. I want to work in
Yeah.
this." To me, it was you got to get through it to get to do what you want to do. That's how it was for me. And
Mm.
so, I would have loved to have had that desire to work in the medical field and be able, because look, goodness gracious,
Mhm.
an RN can
Oh, yeah.
work anywhere in the world.
Oh yeah.
They can go anywhere and be employed instantly.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, and that's one of the great things
Anywhere.
about so many of these career and technical and medical programs.
Yeah,
They're always going to need a med lab tech.
right.
They're always going to need somebody who can do these advanced forms of welding. And there's always going to need somebody who
Mhm.
can, who can deal with the precision agriculture. And you can go. I mean, you don't have to stay here. And we'd love it if you do.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
we
we'd love for you to stay here in Southeast Missouri.
and
But,
absolutely, and
but
there are opportunities.
you
But
know.
if you end up wanting to go up to St. Louis or Memphis or Chicago, I mean, if you've got an RN certification, you can do that anywhere.
You
And it's
work in
just-
Alaska, Hawaii, wherever. I mean, they need nurses all over the
Oh, absolutely. And
world.
they probably need them more in places like
Yeah.
that because,
It's hard to get people.
well, not in Hawaii anyway. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure if somebody offered me a job out in Hawaii, I'd be like, yeah, aloha. But
Later, folks.
yeah, Alaska on the other hand might be a little tougher sell. I hear it gets really cold up
Oh
there.
my gosh.
But I
But
mean,
they pay good.
to deal with that much snow, I hope they do. But and even we even still have stuff open right now. I mean, we have registration for spring is for full spring classes is closed, but we, for instance, still have our evening advantage program.
Uh-huh.
That's the the 2 nights a week career kind of fast track to a general education degree,
Hmm.
and the second 8-week session for that is still open for registration and will be through I think March 10th. So there's still time to get started, and it never hurts to start getting your ducks in a row early if you're looking to go. Priority deadline for for federal financial aid is in March, so
Okay.
that's if you're looking at coming in the fall, it's a really good idea to start filling all that out now so that
Yeah.
um, you can make sure that that all gets in and you get first priority and first choice. It is, I mean,
Right.
um, it can be quite important, and it can be that difference between getting partial and full. So it's something to keep an eye out for. But it's just I I I I wish I could just beam it into everyone's heads. This is There is such an opportunity accessible to you right here, right now, and it's not a second choice. It's not a lesser choice.
Right. Right.
It is, you're going to have people. I I have always been amazed at the dedication of our instructors, of our staff. You know, I loved a lot of my professors up, doing the 4-year thing,
Hmm.
but a lot of them were a little overwhelmed. A little, they had a lot of stuff to do, a lot of classes to teach, research to keep up with, etc. Um, I have never seen a group of men and women so focused on serving the students as I have here. I mean, it just blows me away that they, you know, instructors who are willing to go that extra mile, financial aid people who are willing to just keep working with you and slogging with you through getting what you need. Everybody from the person who greets you at the welcome desk on up is just fantastic, and I cannot recommend them enough. They'll treat you right. They'll get you what you need, And if they can't help you, they'll tell you what you need to do. If
Who
you can't,
can?
if you can't do it right now, okay, when can I? All right.
Yeah.
So, it's just there isn't a better opportunity than this, and there isn't a better time. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, you may be hearing the president talk about more about it in the future here, but really, what's the point in waiting until then?
Mm-hmm.
When most folks that are listening, not everyone, of course, but most people who
Yeah.
are listening are going to qualify for aid already.
Oh yeah.
So why wait till they say, okay, we're going to give you two
Yeah.
years? Just get it done now,
Yeah.
because it's going to get more crowded then.
Oh, absolutely. And
It's going to
that's
get a little more hectic around the place then.
yeah. It's one of the things that we're looking at is like if this goes through, like okay, this how do we handle this?
Yeah, I bet that if this does actually
Mm-hmm.
happen the way he is
Mm-hmm.
kind of portraying that it could, most of our community colleges in the country are probably going to be a little overwhelmed at first. You
But
know,
at the same time, one of the great things about community colleges, we're usually quite flexible. We're usually quite responsive, and we're a little more able to grow and shift as needs demand. We're a little more tied into that community sense, into that what is needed, as opposed to saying, okay, this is what we do, and then kind of grabbing people to fill that. We say, okay, what do you need, and we'll become that.
yeah,
I mean, that's one of the reasons why we have all of the advanced welding and precision agriculture programs launching. Is we went out to the community and said, okay, we're about to get $2.75 million out of the Department of Labor. What do you all need? What do you want? What'll help you? And the local farmer said, well, we need folks who can run the fancy tractors and make sure and use all the tech stuff that we do to help make our farms more productive. Okay. Precision agriculture. Manufacturers, over in, I think it's Caruthersville, where the barge manufacturers said, we can't get enough welders. We can't get enough highly skilled welders. And we said, okay, we'll train them for you.
I bet
responsiveness.
that pays pretty good too, doesn't
You would not believe. I mean,
it?
a a
Welders,
basic
that's,
welder
yeah.
makes more than I do. Makes a fair chunk more than I do. You start stacking on
Wow.
the various different advanced certifications that we're beginning to offer, that we started offering this semester. That goes up, way up. It's hot work, it's hard work. It's to a degree it's dirty work, but if you can do it, if you can find pleasure and take pride in it, you will have a job for as long as you want it, and you will not be lacking for cash.
I bet it's kind of a satisfying feeling too, though, when you're building something to
Hmm.
see it when it's all done and
Oh yeah.
constructed. And I imagine that's a very,
Oh yeah. And there, I mean,
kind of a gratifying feeling.
there's a lot more to do with stuff like that than just just barge manufacturing. I mean, we've got that new classroom building going up on in the Poplar Bluff campus, and hopefully is going to be open this spring. And when they were putting the framework together, somebody had to weld it together.
Right, right.
There's a whole lot more opportunities than you'd think, and it's always one of those things like I don't think I could do it myself, but I have a great respect for those who can, because well, just think about it. That's the person who's keeping the building together.
I'm just sitting here thinking, the whole thing aside about how heavy and
Yeah.
dirty and hot and all that, but I'm just thinking
Yeah.
doing that to build and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I, I'm a crafty person.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of like a very large scale craft project kind of
Yeah.
a deal,
I-
in that you've got a starting point, you've got
Mhm.
directions, you got to learn to follow instructions
Mhm.
properly,
Oh
and
yeah.
fit things together right, and do
Mhm.
it right the first time, and
Oh yeah.
all that kind of
Okay,
stuff.
yeah, 'cause
So
there's a lot of that stuff you can't go back on.
huh?
No, and
Once you weld it, it's welded.
yeah, I was a Lego kid, and I appreciate that ability, but
Yeah.
there's a certain difference
Wow.
to it when they don't stay together on their own.
Yeah.
And,
There,
and,
yeah.
and you gotta kind of melt
Much
them
more
together.
challenging.
Weld them.
Melt your Legos together.
Yeah, well,
That would
never
definitely
on
change
purpose.
the prospect of the next project,
Oh
wouldn't it?
well, you wouldn't be able to cannibalize the sets like I always used to. That would be hard. But
Well, I'm just I'll be listening to hear what the president has to say about this in the future, and as a excuse me, as a fiscally conservative person, my big question is, where's the money going to come from?
well, that is the question.
So we'll be waiting to see what he
See what-
says about that,
about
and
that.
what he proposes on that, how he thinks this is all going to be paid for and stuff.
Yes.
But
And,
yeah, overall, don't wait though.
Yeah,
Don't wait
and,
around for that.
Even if it was to not go through, and that's always a possibility. You know how Washington works, or doesn't work to some degree, and
He said it, not me.
yeah, well, their approval ratings speak for themselves, I think. But
Yeah.
that even if this was not to come through, it's not going to be, it's not going to take away anything that wasn't already there. All of the opportunities I've been talking about already exist,
Right.
and they already are available for those who want to seek them out and take advantage of them. And if nothing else, it has provided us the opportunity to show the nation that this is what community colleges can offer you, and do every day. I mean, this is not something that we've just started. This
Right,
is
right.
our mission, and has been for years upon years since we started in the 60s.
And I guess Missouri would be kind of a good case study,
Absolutely.
because we have already had the A+ program for a
Yeah.
while.
And it works. I mean, we have had hundreds of A+ students come through our door since the program started, and they're some of our best students. I mean, because to do the A+, you've got to want it. You've got to work
Right.
for it.
Yeah. And you got to start working for it
Early.
at a relatively young age. Yeah.
Yeah.
When a lot of people may not be quite so focused
Oh, absolutely.
at that age.
Um,
So you've got a great student already coming through the doors
mhm,
if they qualify for A plus.
absolutely. And
So
we were gratified to see that that at least the early indications say that um, even under this program that he's proposing, you're going to have like a 2.5 GPA. I mean, it's a C average.
right, right,
It's not rocket science, but because it is important that you can't just sit in the class and not pay attention, not do the
right,
work, and get the degree.
right,
If we did that, what value would it be?
exactly.
It's something that it is work, but it's worthwhile. It's a worthwhile work. So
I think so too.
mhm.
Yeah. So, well, boy, let's take a real quick
Yeah.
break. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about some upcoming events. I noticed something on your list here that I didn't know was coming up, and I'm kind of anxious to get the
Ooh,
details.
I'll do my best to give them to you.
So stick around. More information about Three Rivers College, upcoming events, and a little bit more. Stick around. It's all on the way right here on today's Talk, KWOC 930 AM and 93.3 FM. And welcome back to Brittney on the Bluff, brought to you, of course, by our fine sponsors, Whitworth's Gift Chest Jewelers, Key Drugs, First Community Bank, and Today's Computers in Poplar Bluff. Jonathan Atwood with Three Rivers College in the studio with us this morning. And, of course, we've got a few upcoming events.
Absolutely.
Everybody knows Ag Expo, January 30th and 31st. Well, of course, that is sponsored in part by the Ag
Club
Club at Three Rivers.
Aggies, yes, and they're a huge force in putting that on, organizing it. It's one of their big projects every year, and it's a great event. I think
I love Ag Expo.
Oh yeah,
I always have a great time.
118 booths and tons of demonstrations, giveaways, the whole 9 yards. It's a lot of fun. There'll be a lot of people there, so I definitely encourage everyone
contests.
Absolutely.
Workshops
The
and
rodeo
just,
team may be doing a demonstration.
Oh, are they? Cool.
Well, they tend to show up for stuff like that. I know our
good.
our timber
I'd like to
sports
see
team
that.
usually shows up
Yeah.
pretty good, and we've actually got a nationally ranked timber sports guy on our team right now. He's the head of the team, a guy named Aaron Hovis, and I have seen him work with an axe, and I'm like, I don't ever want to make you mad, ever.
Not the man that carries an axe.
And uses it very, very well.
It could cause you a lot of hurt right there.
Yeah, well, I'm
No
sometimes
doubt.
amazed they don't hurt themselves, but that's why they're on the timber sports
Amazing,
team and
isn't
I'm
it?
not.
It really is impressive what they do. Ag Expo, January 30th and 31st, $1 admission.
Yes.
Just about everything inside, not everything, but just about everything once you get inside is free.
Yes.
But that dollar will help cover expenses and all that kind of stuff for the Ag Club and the University of Missouri Extension and all the folks that are involved in it. So
really, you can't get much better deal for $1 anywhere. Whole
see
day
how.
worth of really interesting sights and really interesting things to see, and whole lot of vendors local businesses are gonna be there showing off their wares, and so
yeah, sounds fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, so am I.
Now, the thing that I had mentioned earlier that I didn't know was coming up, and I saw this when you sent me the talking notes ahead of time, is Robin Hood.
Yes.
How cool is that?
Yes,
Everybody loves Robin Hood.
Absolutely. Our next Patrons of the Arts Kids Show is coming up on the February 1st to be exact. So it's really coming up fast.
Now, as soon as I saw that, my mind flashed to the picture of the Disney box with the fox, and of course, it's not that.
No, it's
It's a version of Robin Hood.
right. It's again being put on by the Imaginary Theater Company, the same.
Boy, these
touring
guys are so good.
Yes.
Oh
and
my gosh,
they're
these folks are
dedicated.
good.
They're everywhere. And
Yeah.
they just keep going and going and going. I'm like, I do community theater, and if I had to do a show as
Over
frequently
and over and
as they do,
over.
I'd be dreaming about it, and that would start getting bad, and then I would just get tired. But they just keep going. It's their passion. They love it, and it's some great stuff.
And they're so good at taking like a classic story and making it one that the kids can really not just understand but enjoy.
Oh yeah, and they make it.
That's why I'm kind of
all
anxious
fun.
to see what they do with Robin Hood.
Oh yeah, and it's a classic story. Rogues and knights and maidens fair and all that. So
That's a good description.
And it's $5 per ticket, which is you really can't get a better show for that price, especially around here.
I tell you, if you took your kids to St. Louis to see this, you'd be paying a lot more than $5,
Well,
wouldn't you?
heck, if you take your kids to the movie theater to see a movie, you ain't getting away for that
Right.
price. So definitely some great entertainment for the whole family, and encourage people to come out. That's February 1st at 2 p.m. in the Tennis Center. We're also again bringing it to all the local schools across the next week.
That's really cool. I
for
like
free.
that.
So
That's awesome.
we're really trying to help instill that love of the arts in this next generation.
And
I
that's
think
another thing
important.
with this imaginary theater. They're so good at the interaction with the kids. It's not just, bring your kids in, tell them to sit down and be quiet. That's because that's not what it is. The actors and the actresses get the kids involved. They get them laughing. They get them cheering, and it really does give kids a passion for art and for live theater
Hmm.
and that sort of a thing. That's going to stick with them for their whole
Oh,
lives.
absolutely.
You
You
know,
know,
that's good stuff.
and then hopefully, when they get a little older, they start coming out to the other
Right,
patient shows,
yeah.
which are also really good shows, and
Coming and
Center
seeing the
Stage.
Moscow Ballet and
Oh
this and
yeah,
that and the other. And
yes,
yeah.
yes, that's also coming up in it's March or April, and it's 2 shows away because we've got another kids show after this one in March. So,
Looking forward to the
oh,
ballet.
absolutely.
Very cool.
Mhm. And finally, coming up, we have our Raider reunion. We're going to be honoring our Raiders athletics alumni
Oh,
with
how
a special
cool.
night.
Yeah. How fun.
We've been doing the homecoming thing for a couple of years, and we
Hmm.
decided to shift the focus and make sure that we were not only recognizing our current students, but the ones who have come before us, so to speak. So it's going to be for all Raiders athletics alumni, all of them across the years, across all the various different sports. Everything from basketball, baseball, softball, women's basketball, volleyball. We don't even have a volleyball team anymore. But if you were part of the volleyball team, you are more than welcome to come. Free admission for any former Raiders athlete, and they get freebies. There's going to be a special ceremony to honor Sherry Ramsey, who was one of our former cheer coaches, who is now unfortunately deceased, and so we're gonna honor her memory with a little ceremony, and it's I think it's going to be a really fun time. Like I said, all the athletics alumni get free admission to both the women's and the men's basketball game. And speaking of men's basketball, we have hit quite a landmark.
Yeah, you
Um,
could say that.
Coach Bess has secured his 1200th win lifetime in over
That's
45 years.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's really amazing.
He is
1,200 wins.
he is now the winningest coach in college basketball. Period. Nobody even.
Not community college
No.
basketball, college
Yeah.
basketball.
Actually, I believe the highest NCAA lifetime win total is not even 1,000. I think it's like 990 something, and I believe that
And
guy's
he's at
retired.
1,200.
Yeah,
That's a big difference.
yeah.
Wow.
There's only like 4 or 5 coaches in all of basketball who hold higher lifetime win records than he does, and there's some, you're talking about him being up there with
Isn't
some of
that
the old
something?
classics of pro basketball. So,
That's amazing. And people may say, well, how do we have him then?
um, we are
He
incredibly
loves
fortunate.
Three Rivers.
He loves Three Rivers. He loves the community.
You know,
He's been here for over 45 years at this point. He teaches 3 classes on top of teaching on top of coaching the basketball team. All I can say is that we are incredibly fortunate and incredibly proud to have Coach Bess leading the Raiders. And he has transformed so many lives. He has touched so many, the lives of so many young men across, like I said, 45 years. I can't even imagine it. That's almost twice my lifetime. And
yeah, that's just in his basketball
yeah,
coaching career.
yeah,
Wow.
and he's still going.
Man,
So,
that's impressive.
I know. I mean,
Congratulations, Coach.
so yeah, and like I said, and he's not stopping. They're doing so very, very well this season. I think they're like 16-5, something like that. And really pushing hopefully towards another appearance at the national championships, and who knows. We'd love to have a third national championship banner up in the gym.
That would be sweet. Yeah. Cool.
Never count Coach Bess out.
Oh, I
Ever.
don't think anybody could.
No, not at this point.
I mean, goodness. Look at the record. It's just it's insane.
But yeah, so the Raider
Great,
reunion
man,
for
wow,
all
yeah.
of our athletics alumni is going to be February 7th at 6:30 p.m. in the Best
February 7th.
Activity Center. And if you're athletics alumni, it's all free.
If they've got any questions, they can call the college.
Yeah, absolutely. Contact Hillary Spear, because she is the lady in charge. So.
She's a sweetheart too.
Oh yeah, I
So.
mean, Hillary does such a great job arranging all these various events for us, and
Yeah.
we're really grateful across the board to have such a great and enthusiastic staff. I mean,
Makes all the difference in the world, doesn't it?
It makes it easier to come into work
Yeah,
every day, knowing
I
that
hear you.
these are the people you're working with. So,
That's awesome. Well, Jonathan,
well,
thanks
thank
for
you.
coming by today. And again, we'll just have to kind of follow this story that's developing
Hmm.
with the president and community colleges. And uh, maybe he looked at Missouri and said, hey, that's pretty cool. Let's try it
You know,
nationwide.
and I wouldn't be surprised if that was to some degree the case. I mean, we've been very, very fortunate to have some really great support in our legislature from both sides of the aisle for the community
Right.
college systems
Right.
here, and I think it's really paying off for us.
You can always find out more about Three Rivers College by giving them a call or going online.
At trcc.edu.
There you go. Thanks again, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. That's it for Brittney on the Bluff for today. Have a fantastic day, okay? Be safe. Be careful. We'll meet you back here tomorrow morning, okay, for tomorrow's morning edition right here on Today's Talk, 930 KWOC. And we're at 930 AM and 93.3 FM. Getting tongue-tied this morning. Dave Ramsey next on KWOC.
Proud to be your source for